I created a throwaway for this because I can't risk anyone tying this to my main. But I've been sitting on this for over a year and the final part of my plan is in motion. I don't even know if I feel guilty anymore, maybe I should, but all I feel is peace. I'm not asking for judgment, validation, or advice. I just need to say it out loud. A year and a half ago, I was working as an executive assistant at a mid-sized media agency. It was a decent job. Good pay, okay benefits, and I got along with most of the people in my department. The company had a sleek, modern culture, startup energy even though they'd been around for 15 years. Beer on Fridays. Nerf wars in the hallways. That kind of crap. Then came him. I'll call him Evan, which was his fake name, obviously. Evan was brought in as a senior brand strategist. On paper, we had no reason to interact much, but somehow, he always had reasons to stop by my desk. He was charming. 35, tall, expensive suits, that stubbly jawline that screams, finance bro turned creative. You know the type. Women at the office whispered about him. He flirted with all of us, but I was the one he zeroed in on. At first, I brushed it off. I'm not naive. I've seen enough rom-coms and lived through enough real-life disasters to know that office romances are rarely worth it. But Evan was relentless, not in a creepy way. He knew exactly how far to push the line without crossing it. Coffee runs, accidentally timed together. Long talks after meetings. Subtle compliments. It wasn't long before I gave in. We started sleeping together a few months in. Hey, race the thing, he said all the right things. Told me had never dated anyone in the office before, lie. Said I was different, also a lie. Claimed he wasn't seeing anyone else, massive, nuclear-grade lie. 6 months into this situationship, I found out I was pregnant. It wasn't planned. I was on birth control, religiously. But sometimes, life has other plans. The moment I saw that positive test, my entire body went cold. I told Evan that night. I was shaking. I expected panic, but what I got was silence. Then, are you sure it's mine? That was the first crack. What followed was worse. He went cold. Not angry, not emotional. Cold. Like I was a stranger bothering him with my personal problems. He told me he wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility, and we never agreed to anything serious. He asked me if I'd consider taking care of it. His words, not mine. I told him no. I wasn't going to terminate. I wasn't going to run away from it like he clearly wanted to. His entire demeanor shifted after that. The next week, he stopped messaging me entirely. No more good mornings. No more, let's grab lunch. Nothing. It was like we had never been anything at all. Then it got worse. He started spreading rumors. Subtle, gross things. Saying I was clingy, unstable, and making things up. I found out he was telling people I was stalking him. That I had tried to trap him with a baby. I was nauseated and exhausted and still trying to keep my job while he was actively making me look insane. HR was useless. He was senior. He knew how to cover his tracks. I had no proof. Just whispers and glances and the feeling that I was slowly being erased. 3 weeks later, I miscarried. I won't get into the details, but it was painful. Physically, yes. Emotionally. I don't think I've ever felt so broken. And I went through it alone. I didn't tell anyone at work. I didn't tell my friends. I just took 2 days off and showed up like nothing had happened. I bled through meetings. I smiled through cramps. I nodded along while Evan cracked jokes 2 desks away from me. That was the week I started planning my revenge. I'm not impulsive. I didn't want to destroy him with a scandal or scream in his face in the middle of a staff meeting. No. That would be too easy. Evan is careful, calculated. And I realized the only way to really hurt someone like him was to slowly dismantle everything he built, with patience. So I played the game. I started paying attention. To everything. Who he talked to. What accounts he was assigned. Who he was sleeping with now, turns out, multiple women, one of whom was technically his subordinate. I kept my head down and collected evidence. I volunteered to take minutes at meetings. I started talking to our IT guy more, nothing flirtatious, just friendly. I learned which systems logged what and how often. I found his passwords, he reused them, stupid. I discovered he had a secret Gmail he used for side deals. Clients he was funneling under the table. I printed everything and kept it in a locked drawer in my apartment. Then I befriended Sarah, a newer hire. Sweet girl, fresh out of grad school, very eager to please. She reminded me of myself when I first started. Evan, of course, latched onto her. I warned her. She didn't listen. A few months later, she was crying in the break room. Said he ghosted her after she told him she might be pregnant. Sound familiar? That's when I knew I had to finish what I started. I sent the first envelope to HR anonymously. Not everything, just enough to raise eyebrows. A whisper of the side deals. A few of the more borderline Slack messages he sent to multiple women. I knew HR wouldn't move fast, they never do. But it was enough to put him under a microscope. Then I went for the kill. I sent a dossier to our biggest client, a conservative brand that wouldn't tolerate shady deals or sexual harassment. I detailed everything. His secret Gmail, his backdoor negotiations, even the messages he sent their junior staffer after a conference. Yes, I had screenshots. I printed it all, old school, and mailed it. No return address. 3 days later, they pulled their account. That was a $1.2 million loss. Evan was summoned to a meeting. He hasn't been seen in the office since. He's still technically on leave. Word is, there's an internal investigation. HR asked to speak with me yesterday. I kept my cool. I told them I didn't know anything, but that I'd be happy to cooperate. They looked like they'd aged 10 years. I still have more. Emails. Voicemails. A few files I haven't shared yet. And if they try to sweep this under the rug, it'll go public. I have a Reddit account, a TikTok burner, and receipts for days. I'm not afraid anymore.